I get badly injured and stay hospitalized for 3 whole months. Yet my wife never shows up once. Until the moment I finally decide to cut this marriage off for good. Suddenly, she rushes over, dressed flawlessly, questioning me with this absolutely cold face. Why did I keep her in the dark? Looking at this face, so familiar yet completely foreign, I suddenly wake up. I am not her husband at all. I am just some accessory she can ignore whenever she feels like it. She asks why I never bothered to tell her a single word about such a massive hospitalization. Her tone is extremely cold. It sounds exactly like she is interrogating a subordinate who just abandoned their post without permission. I lie on the hospital bed, lacking the energy to even shoot her a glance. I just ask, if I told you, would you even show up?
She freezes for a second, then says she is here right now. I just laugh out loud. The doctor flips through my medical records.
He frowns, saying my shoulder wound is pretty serious and needs further observation. I just shoot back. No need for that. Vương Tiểu Ý turns to look at me, clearly pretty unhappy. She snaps at me to stop saying things like that in front of outsiders. I look up at her, keeping my tone completely flat. I tell her I have no family, so if the worst happens, nobody needs to be notified anyway. That private room gets incredibly quiet. So quiet that I can actually hear the IV fluid dripping down, drop by agonizing drop. The off-white curtains clearly cost a fortune, sliding open without making a single sound, and hanging heavy in the air right now. There is this sharp smell of disinfectant mixed with fresh flowers. The nurse swaps them out every single day, claiming it helps improve a patient's mood. But honestly, I have absolutely zero mood left to recover. I just lie there staring at the ceiling. My left shoulder is wrapped in super thick bandages. Just moving a tiny bit sends this sharp pain straight deep into my bones. The doctor says I got incredibly lucky. If the angle was just slightly off, things would be way worse than a simple hospital stay. So when the door pushes open, I do not even turn my head. Those footsteps are pretty light, but they carry this heavy presence. The high heels click against the floor with a very clear rhythm. It feels like someone is actively controlling their steps to avoid looking rushed. I already know exactly who it is. Vương Tiểu Ý, my wife. She stands right at the door. She does not step inside immediately. I can actually see her reflection clearly in the glass. Her posture completely straight, shoulders squared up, looking exactly like she just stepped out of some high-stakes corporate board meeting. She stands there. She is wearing this incredibly elegant coat. The tailoring is sharp, the color is pristine, and there is a tiny, delicate pin resting right on the collar. It belongs to a brand I do not recognize, but I know for sure it is not cheap.
Her makeup is perfectly flawless. Even her eyeliner is sharp and decisive, without a single smudge. She is always exactly like this. Across our 3 years of marriage, she has never once shown up looking messy right in front of me.
Ma Tu Tu, she calls out my name. Her tone is pretty steady, completely stripped of any extra emotion. I do not reply. She takes a few steps closer, stands right beside the hospital bed, and looks down at me. That specific look reminds me of returned merchandise sitting at the mall. It is not anger in her eyes, but rather a cold, hard inspection. Like she is trying to figure out where the defect is. Now pay attention to this moment. She casually asks why I never contacted her about being hospitalized, acting like she is just running through some standard corporate procedure. I still refuse to look at her, simply reaching out to press the call button. The nurse quickly steps right inside. I ask her to please call my attending doctor for me. Hearing this, Vương Tiểu Ý is clearly taken aback for a second. Her eyebrows pull together in a slight frown. The doctor arrives fast, carefully checking my current condition before flipping open his notebook, keeping his tone cautious. He warns me, Mr. Ma, your current condition is absolutely not suitable for an immediate discharge. You need observation for at least a few more days. I just tell him I want to process my discharge right now. The doctor hesitates, glancing over at Vương Tiểu Ý. She just stands there, hands resting naturally by her sides, showing zero emotion, like she is waiting for me to explain myself. But I have absolutely zero intention of explaining. The doctor tries to push back, bringing up my wound again. I just cut him off, my tone totally indifferent. I have no family. If anything goes wrong, there is literally no one who needs to be notified anyway. The moment those words leave my mouth, the entire hospital room goes dead silent for 2 seconds. Vung Tiaoyi's expression finally shifts, not into guilt, not into pity, but into a stiff, offended glare. You can literally feel the tension. She clearly never expected me to say something like that, especially not right in front of a total stranger.
Ma tuteur, she lowers her voice dangerously.
She asks what the point is in saying things like this right now. At that exact moment, I finally tilt my head and give her a single glance.
Her eyes are genuinely beautiful, clear and incredibly sharp, carrying this heavy confidence of someone used to holding absolute power for years. The very first time we met, I was completely captivated by those exact eyes.
Back then, she was the newly appointed vice president of the company, standing tall right there in the boardroom. Every single person was staring at her, myself included. But looking at her right now, I only feel distance. I tell her that everything I just said is the truth. The doctor standing next to us is clearly feeling pretty awkward, so he just follows protocol and hands over the hospital discharge papers. I grab the pen and start signing page after page. My movements are pretty slow, but there is zero hesitation. Vung Tiaoyi just stands nearby, not saying another word. I can actually feel her heavy gaze dropping down onto my hand, staring right at my signature as I write it, the exact same name that sits permanently on our marriage certificate. She had signed a ton of documents before, but she rarely ever looked at them this seriously. After finishing the last page, I handed the pen back. The doctor nodded, gave me a few quick reminders, and then left the hospital room. The moment the door clicked shut, the tension in the room spiked. "What exactly are you trying to pull here?" She finally spoke up, her tone clearly dripping with a pretty heavy dose of impatience. "You get hurt and do not call me, then say those things in front of strangers just to make me lose face?" I leaned back against the pillows, a dull ache throbbing in my shoulder. I told her, I am not acting out, I just felt it was unnecessary. She let out a pretty cold laugh. "Totally unnecessary. I am your wife." I just gave a slow nod. Legally speaking, yes, that is entirely true. Her breathing clearly started getting a lot heavier and faster. Vung Tiaoyi is the brilliant chief executive officer of the massive Vung corporate group. She is totally used to everyone revolving around her, and completely used to having absolutely everything under her strict control. To her, this marriage is basically just a finalized business project where everything is perfectly arranged, rather than a real relationship that actually requires constant time and emotional investment. I always knew that. It is just that before, I willingly waited around. She then asked, "When exactly did this happen?" I answered, 3 months ago. She clearly froze up at that. 3 months. I did not explain any further. During those 3 months, she was insanely busy with massive acquisitions. Busy raising capital, busy attending endless social events, and also incredibly busy standing right next to that guy named Trinh Lập Ninh.
Trinh Lập Ninh is the head of the marketing department. He is quite young, speaks very gently, and really knows how to listen when people vent.
Whenever she mentioned him, she always said he works incredibly meticulously, has super stable emotions, and is just a wonderfully rare business partner. She honestly saw nothing wrong with that, and I never bothered to remind her. Why are you only telling me this now? You feel that shift, right? Her tone finally showed a tiny hint of real emotion. I simply asked back, "Why are you only showing up here just now?" She opened her mouth, but could not force a single word out. The hospital room fell silent, except for the quiet hum of the machines. I pushed the blankets aside, got out of bed, and packed. Honestly, there was not much to pack at all. Just a few fresh clothes, and one single phone. Vung Tiaoyi just stood completely still, watching me. It looked like she was finally realizing for the very first time that I truly wanted to leave. She asked, "Where are you going?" I replied, "Not going home." "Ma tu tu," she called out, stopping me in my tracks, her voice dropping a bit lower. "Let's go home and talk." I turned my back to her, pulled the door open, nothing left to say. The second the door slammed shut, I could hear that she was still standing right there, completely refusing to chase after me. The hallway lights were blindingly bright as I walked forward, step by step. The sharp pain in my shoulder felt incredibly real and absolutely intense. Behind my back, right by the door of that insanely expensive private hospital room, Vuong Tio-yi was still standing there. This is the very first time she has ever realized that some things are just no longer under her absolute control anymore.
Now watch this. The whole thing happened on a totally normal evening. Originally, I was just going to meet a client out by the old factory district in the southern part of the city.
That area was recently cleared out. Several streetlights were completely broken, and the ground was super bumpy and dangerously uneven. The client suddenly changed the meeting time. I ended up waiting an extra 20 minutes, and that is exactly when it all went wrong. Someone suddenly rushed me from behind. I instinctively threw my hands out to block them, and my shoulder smashed violently into the metal guardrail. The sharp metal edge sliced deep into my skin, making this sickening thud that sounded less like an impact and way more like bones being crushed. When I hit the ground, my very first reaction was not even the pain, but watching my mobile phone slip right out of my pocket. The screen still glowed brightly. I crawled over, grabbed the phone, hands shaking uncontrollably. I instantly dialed Vuong Tio-yi's number. She was literally the only person who popped into my head right after getting badly hurt. The phone rang for a really long time, so long that I honestly started doubting if I had accidentally dialed the wrong number. Right as I was about to hang up and try again, the call finally connected. The other end was incredibly noisy, filled with loud music and people chatting. What is going on? Her voice came through the receiver, speaking at a really fast, impatient pace. I leaned against the guardrail and sat down, my whole shoulder already starting to go completely numb. I ran into some trouble here. I might really need you to come over. She stayed completely quiet for a moment. I heard that single second of hesitation so clearly. She finally said, "It is not really convenient for me right now." I did not ask what she was doing. "Is it serious?" she asked again. I quickly looked down at my shoulder. A dark stain had completely soaked through my shirt. Hospital time, probably. Someone was calling out her name on her end, the voice sounding super close. "Just handle it yourself for now," she said. "I absolutely cannot leave things here."
I opened my mouth to say, Tio-yi, but the call just dropped. The moment the screen went completely dark, I stared blankly at the phone for a few seconds before finally realizing that she truly was not coming.
I sat right there, calmed my mind. Took ages before finally calling emergency services. While riding in the back of the ambulance, I sent her one more incredibly simple text message. "I am at the hospital." 0 response. At the hospital, I needed a signature. The nurse asked where my family was. I paused for a second, then just said they have not arrived yet. She gave me a look, asked nothing else, and handed me the pen. I signed my name using my left hand, the handwriting looking incredibly messy. The billing counter had a ridiculously long line. I stood there signing paperwork while dark drops trailed down my sleeve and fell onto the floor. A kind stranger actually had to remind me, and that is when I noticed my phone had stayed completely dead silent this whole time.
Before the surgery began, the doctor checked if I had any allergies. I shook my head, so he asked me to leave an emergency contact number for a family member.
I gave them Vuong Tio-yi's number. The doctor just nodded, telling me they would send her the results right away. Lying on the operating table, staring up at that bright ceiling light, my mind flashed back to something else entirely. That morning, before heading out, she was trying on clothes in the dressing room. Trin Lap Ning stood right beside her, helping hand over her coat. The two of them were standing pretty close, talking in hushed voices. When she noticed me, her expression stayed completely natural. She just said she had a social event tonight and might get home a bit late. I nodded back then. Only later did I find out that the exact social event was actually set up by Trin Lap Ning himself. Trin Lap Ning heads the marketing department for the Vuong Group. The guy is quite capable and always measures his words carefully. Vuong Tio-yi always praises him for being emotionally stable. She really likes that specific type of personality in a person. By the time surgery finished, it was already late at night. The doctor said nothing was broken, but my ligaments took serious damage and needed proper rest. They pushed me back into the ward. A nurse helped plug my phone into charge. The exact second the screen lit up, I instinctively glanced over at it. No missed calls. No new text messages. When the next morning rolled around, I woke up incredibly early. The sky outside my hospital window was just barely getting bright, with these heavy gray clouds hanging really low. My phone finally buzzed once. It was Vuong Tio-yi saying she had sudden business last night, missed her phone entirely, and asking how things were now. Staring at those words, my finger just hovered over the screen. A long moment passed by in silence. I took my time, finally typing back that I was in the hospital. She never replied again. By noon, Tren Lop Nin called me. His tone was gentle as always, sounding totally full of concern. He said Tiao mentioned my injury, asking how I was. That surprised me. I asked how he knew, and he answered right back.
He told me she briefly mentioned it last night. She supposedly wanted to visit early, but had too many meetings today. Now watch this. I didn't say a single word.
He kept going, telling me not to overthink things since she is under major pressure lately. I have heard that exact excuse way more than just once. Right before my discharge, the doctor told me to stay another 2 days for observation. I made my choice. I turned it down for one very simple reason. Absolutely no one was waiting for me. While packing up my things, I opened my emergency contacts list. Tio's name sat right there at the very top. I stared at it for a few seconds, then hit delete. The system asked to confirm. I tapped agree. In that specific moment, I did not feel angry or even sorry for myself. I just finally saw one extremely clear truth. Inside her life, I simply did not rank at all. It is not like she lacks care for everybody. She just really does not care about me anymore. Stepping out of the hospital, the bright sunlight was pretty glaring. I stood right by the entrance and called a ride for myself. My phone vibrated again. Vuong Tiaoyi had sent a voice note saying that once she finishes this busy stretch, we will have a proper talk. I did not even hit play, just shoved the phone straight into my pocket. The car door clicked softly, completely shutting out that entire chapter of my life. Right after being discharged, I did not head home. The car stopped by the apartment gate. I paid up but told the driver to keep driving forward. My shoulder wound still throbbed, acting like a painful reminder to never return to that place again. I found a hotel near my company. The room was not huge but quite clean. The receptionist politely asked if I wanted to list an emergency contact. I told her no need. As the elevator door slid shut, I finally felt the heavy tension I had been holding on to slowly slipping away. The very next day, I went into work as usual. My coworkers looked over,
Noticing the heavy brace strapped to my shoulder, and asked what happened. I just said I carelessly bumped into something. The topic dropped right there. Nobody pushed further.
Honestly, I was pretty glad for the peace and quiet. Vuong Tiaoyi finally noticed something was off on the third night. That day, I worked overtime until extremely late. My phone buzzed a few times, but I ignored it. Back at the hotel, I showered before finally checking my missed calls. 3 calls, all from her, plus a text asking why I had not come home for 2 days. You can guess what happens next, right? Staring at those words, I did not reply right away. It is not like she forgot I was hospitalized. She just assumed that after my discharge, I would head back on my own, clean up the house as usual, and quietly wait around until she was free enough to show up. Well, I did not play along with her expectations this time. Half an hour later, her phone call came ringing through once again. I picked up and she cut straight to the chase, demanding to know where I was. I told her I was out. Where exactly is out? Her tone sounded pretty unhappy. You are injured. Instead of resting up at home, where are you running around?
I did not explain myself. I just said I had too much work these past 2 days and could not check in. She snapped back, telling me to stop sulking.
The second those words left her mouth, I knew she still had no clue what the real problem was. I calmly told her I was not sulking. She went completely silent on the other end. Then, what do you mean? She asked. I replied that it meant nothing. I just do not want to go back lately.
She sounded like she was choking on her words, her voice dropping lower. She told me to just come home first so we could talk. I simply answered, let's leave it for another time.
I hang up and toss my phone aside. The next evening, I head straight back to my hotel after work. But the second I walk through the door, the building manager calls me.
He tells me, Mr. Ma, your wife is at home and says she cannot reach you. I just give a quiet nod and tell him I know. She finally went back home.
She bought that place before we got married. Great location, and she personally picked out every single detail of the interior design. When I moved in, absolutely everything was completely set up. All I had to do was put my clothes into the closet. She always felt like it was our shared home, but deep down, I knew the real truth. It was strictly her house, and I was just another temporary tenant crashing there. Vuong Tae realizes something is completely wrong while checking the closet. I know her daily habits pretty well. The first thing she does getting home is change clothes. She casually tidies up the room a bit before heading straight to the shower. The closet is empty in one tiny corner. Not the whole thing, just missing a few of my favorite shirts and an old coat. She just stands right there, staring at it for a very long time.
She does not call me right away, instead texting Trinlap Ning to ask if he has seen Ma Tutultu anywhere. Trinlap Ning replies back super fast.
He asks what is wrong. Did he not come home, or is he just incredibly busy with work? That exact sentence plays perfectly right into her mindset. She always assumes my entire life revolves strictly around my job and her. Being completely swamped with work is simply the most logical explanation to her. After her shower, she sits on the bed and tries calling me one more time. This time, I ignore it. She actually starts feeling a bit frustrated now. By noon the next day, she tells her assistant to pull up my schedule. The assistant looks at the daily log and suddenly hesitates quite a bit.
He says, Mr. Ma has not been working overtime these past 2 days. He left on time. She frowns deeply, wondering where on earth I went at night.
The assistant just shakes his head. For the very first time, she truly realizes my movements are no longer under her strict control. That evening, she finishes work early and heads home. The house is completely silent. Every single light is turned on, but nobody is actually there. She walks right into the study and notices the desk is completely cleared off. My favorite fountain pen is totally gone from its usual spot. The drawer is clearly missing several old document folders. Those were just some files I kept from my previous work projects that she never even bothered to look at. You feel the tension here, right? She stands there, suddenly struck by some unspeakable discomfort. That night, she barely gets any actual sleep. The next day, she bumps into Trinlap Ning at the company. He glances at her, pointing out she looks pretty awful. She just brushes it off.
He thinks for a brief moment before speaking up. He asks if this has anything to do with Ma Tutu.
She looks at him as he gently suggests that she has been too busy lately and should give me some time. Hearing the word time coming from someone else makes her heart suddenly tighten up in her chest. She is so incredibly used to controlling the pace, but now realizes someone is actively trying to break free. That night, she tries calling me yet again. I am busy sorting through my documents and ignore the incoming call at first. She frantically dials 3 consecutive times. I finally pick up. Suppressing her anger, she demands to know what exactly I am doing. I calmly reply, I am doing absolutely nothing. She yells back, not coming home, ignoring calls. If this is not a tantrum, then what is it? I tell her, I am just not staying there anymore. She actually admits my injury was entirely her own negligence. This is the very first time she has ever backed down like this. She promises to make it up to me once this busy period passes. I stay completely silent. Make it up sounds so clinical, like she is just managing a delayed business project. She tells me to just come home first. I reply, let us talk later. The other end of the line goes dead silent for a few seconds. Then she suddenly asks if I have someone else on the side. The question hits me completely out of nowhere. I freeze for a split second, then let out a laugh. What do you think? She says absolutely nothing. In that exact moment, I clearly feel her starting to panic. Not because I got hurt, but because this whole situation has escaped her calculations. After hanging up the phone, I just go right back to packing up my things. There is an old wedding photo of us sitting right on the desk. I stare at it for a few seconds, then flip it face down into the drawer. Late the next night, Vung Tio-yi returns home. She flicks on the bedroom lights. The bed sheets are perfectly flat, looking like absolutely nobody has slept there at all. She walks out to the living room, her eyes landing on the TV stand. The wedding frame is still there, but the actual photo inside is completely gone. In that exact moment, standing alone in this empty house. Now watch this shift. For the very first time, she clearly realizes this is not just some temporary Cold War. I am actually walking right out of her life for good. Vung Tio-yi manages to track me down exactly 1 week later. That day, I just finish work and step out of the office building. It is getting dark. My shoulder injury feels slightly better, but I still cannot use any real force. As I walk, my movements are unconsciously half a beat slower. Her car is parked right by the curb, completely standing out. The car window rolls down. She is sitting in the driver's seat, her makeup absolutely flawless, looking exactly like she just stepped straight out of a serious board meeting.
Get in the car, she tells me. That is not a polite request, just her usual habitual command. I stay completely still, standing frozen right in my spot.
She stares at me, her eyebrows knitting together little by little. Finally, she actually steps out of the car. She asks if I plan on hiding away like this forever. I reply that I am not hiding at all. I just feel it is completely unnecessary to meet. Vuong Tio-e lowers her voice. We are husband and wife. She has used that exact same line so many times before. In the past, hearing that would subconsciously make me take a step back, but not this time. I ask her what exactly she wants to talk about. She shoots me a quick, sharp glance.
She stares at me, judging my attitude right now. Let's be totally clear, she says, and just lay everything out in the open.
I nod. We find this quiet little cafe right nearby. But man, the second we sit down, the atmosphere is incredibly awkward.
She orders a coffee, and I just get some water. The moment the waiter finally walks away, she speaks up. Your recent behavior has been completely irrational.
Not coming home and refusing to talk only makes things way more complicated, she says. I just sit there and listen, not interrupting her once.
She keeps going. Look, about you getting injured, I fully admit that I wasn't there right away. But you need to understand the situation, she says. I couldn't just walk out. What situation? I ask. She pauses for a second. It was work. Just socializing, she adds. With who? I ask. Her eyes dodge mine for a split second.
Jing Lep Ning, she says. You already know him. I give a nod. Then she quickly adds, he was handling the clients that day, and they really couldn't do the work without him. It is not what you think. The moment she says that, everything just clicks into place for me. Now watch this carefully. It isn't the actual content of what she explained, but the exact order she did it in. She chose to defend Trenlep Ning first, instead of checking on me.
So you think I should just understand? I ask. She gets a little impatient. I didn't mean it like that.
I just look at her. Then what do you mean? You sitting here right now is just to tell me that your choice back then was completely justified.
She stays totally quiet for a moment. I just hope you don't take things to such an extreme, she finally says.
Hearing the word extreme coming from her sounds so casually light, I suddenly find it kind of funny. The day I was hospitalized, when you got that call, did you hesitate?
I ask her. She doesn't answer right away. So I ask again. When you hung up, she presses her lips together tight. Finally, Vuong Tio-e speaks up. Ma Tutu, she says, you obsessing over these little details right now has absolutely no meaning at all.
In that exact moment, something deep inside me completely snaps. It isn't even pain I'm feeling, just this chillingly clear sense of reality. Just give me one single answer, I tell her.
She stares right at me. If it had been Trenlep Ning that day, I ask, would you have left? Her expression instantly shifts. Are you seriously comparing the two? She asks back. Yes, I reply. I am comparing. She clearly has zero intention of answering that question. He is just a work partner. The situation is totally different, she argues. Plus, you never even explained how severe your injury actually was that day. I let out a very faint, dry laugh. So in your heart. He is more important because he was standing right beside you, I say. And I was not. Stop twisting my words, her voice goes cold. I do not favor anyone. I look at her, and that sentence suddenly sounds so incredibly foreign to me. In all our years of marriage, she rarely ever took my side.
It isn't even that she intentionally ignored me. It's just that she never once saw this as a choice she actually had to make. Have you ever actually taken my side? I ask. She freezes up completely. The question is so simple. No blame, no raising my voice at all. And yet, she still cannot find an answer. Her coffee has gone completely cold. And she hasn't taken a single sip. I wait a few more seconds, but she stays dead silent. In that very moment, the last tiny bit of hope inside me completely fades away. I get it. I understand, I say. She lifts her head. What do you understand? I know why you came here today, I tell her, and it definitely was not to apologize.
She furrows her brow. Then why do you think I'm here? You just came to check if I am still going to quietly obey you.
Her face instantly drops. Honestly, some words are just completely pointless to say. I stand up, slowly pushing my chair back into its original place. Let's just separate, I say to her. Her head snaps up instantly. You feel this shift, right? What did you say? She asks. Separate, I repeat calmly. Let's just stay apart for a while. Her fingers grip her cup super tight. Do you even know what you are saying right now? She asks. I am completely wide awake, I reply. Are you seriously going to divorce me over this tiny little issue? Her tone finally carries some real emotion. It is not just about this one little issue. I tell her it is about a million different things. She jumps right up to her feet, dropping her voice low. You need to calm down.
I'm totally calm, I say, and that is the absolute truth. I'm not angry, I'm not being impulsive, I'm just so tired.
You are injured right now, and your mood is completely unstable, she argues. Let's just wait until you recover, then we can talk about this. That isn't necessary, I reply. For the very first time, genuine panic flashes across her face. You cannot just do this, she says. You acting like this is just you running away. I look at her. She rarely loses control like this. I'm not running away, I say. I am ending it. The second those words leave my mouth, her entire body just freezes up. She opens her mouth like she desperately wants to say something, but no sound comes out. I just grab my coat and turn away. As I push the door open, I hear her calling my name from behind, not loud, but carrying this weird, desperate urgency. I don't look back, stepping right out of the cafe. The cold night wind hits me, and my shoulder aches a bit, but I know for a fact it isn't my injury hurting. It's just me finally waking up.
After leaving that cafe, I completely stop answering Vung Tao-Yi's calls. I'm not doing it to hide from her. It's just totally unnecessary now.
Phone on silent. He just heads straight back to the hotel. Dead quiet inside. Even with those bright neon lights flashing outside the window all night, he sleeps incredibly deeply. Next morning, he just goes to work like normal.
His shoulder injury doesn't really mess with basic movements anymore, just aches sometimes. The doctor told him to be careful recovering, but he absolutely refuses to take any more time off.
Work keeps his mind sharp. Then, on the third night, Vung Tao-Yi suddenly shows up right at the hotel door. The front desk calls up. A lady wants to see him. He just agrees and tells them to send her up. The doorbell rings. He's just busy looking over some case documents. She stands right there at the door. No sharp high heels today. Her coat is swapped for a much softer style, and her hair isn't perfectly done up either. Honestly, she genuinely looks quite a bit less distant and cold right now.
First time ever. She has honestly never shown up looking like this before.
Can I come in? She quietly asks him. He steps aside. After walking inside, she pauses right at the door, scanning the space. The room isn't huge, but it's kept pretty neat.
You're staying here? Just temporarily, he replies. She gives a slow nod, almost like she's trying hard to process this new reality.
She carefully places her bag right on the table. I brought you some food, she says. Your shoulder is still recovering, so please stop eating takeout every single day.
Zero movement from him. She definitely notices that. Her fingers pause for just a second. I've adjusted my schedule lately, she gently tells him. I can finish work early for the next few days, she adds. This is her standard, totally consistent way of handling things. Sensing things losing control, she always resets the pace first, then tries fixing it. He simply tells her there's absolutely no need for that at all. She looks up. A spark of total confusion flashes in her eyes. Are you really still angry? She asks. He just gives his answer. Not about being angry. She steps a little closer, her voice dropping slightly. Then why refuse to come back home? She pushes. He stays completely quiet. She just keeps going. We've been married for so many years. Every single couple out there runs into some problems at some point. You blowing things completely out of proportion like this isn't doing anyone any good.
While speaking, she stays incredibly restrained, clearly trying to stand on purely logical ground to fix things. But get this, she completely fails to realize that he has already moved far, far away from that spot.
Doing this now just because you think I should forgive you? He asks. She completely freezes up for a brief second.
I don't mean that at all, she quickly denies. I just feel like we still have enough space left to fix this.
You feel like it. He repeats it slowly. Total silence for a moment. Then a tactic switch. I know you've been forced to suffer quite a bit.
That's genuinely the first time she's ever used the word suffer. She walks right up, reaching out to touch his shoulder, but then suddenly stops her hand midair.
I will absolutely fix this, she says. She sounds incredibly sincere saying that. Past him? He probably would have believed it, but right now he's just incredibly exhausted. Do you even know what you need to fix? She opens her mouth, but gives no immediate answer. He just keeps pushing. It's not that you lack time. You simply gave your time to someone you felt was much more important. Her face goes completely stiff for a second. Trinlap Ning, I've already handled that entire situation. I made it very clear to him, strictly professional from now on. That's entirely your business, he smoothly replies. She instantly frowns at that.
Is that still not enough? Whether it's enough isn't up to you, he points out. Her voice finally carries a slight shaky choke to it.
What do you actually want in the end? He looks at her. She genuinely doesn't understand. She simply never puts herself in someone else's shoes to think. I don't want anything at all, he finally tells her. That single sentence leaves her standing there completely stunned. You're just delaying the actual problem, she says. Now watch his response. He quickly shoots back that it's not a delay. Everything is already completely over. Her breathing clearly breaks its steady rhythm now. Don't be so incredibly absolute about this, she pleads. In your current emotional state, you'll easily make decisions you're definitely going to regret. He gives absolutely zero response. She stands there for a while, then suddenly turns to open that food bag. Setting out each food box, her movements look a little clumsy. Have something to eat, she says softly. You've gotten quite thin. Pretty soft words, but they carry a desperate pleading she doesn't even realize is there. He still doesn't move a single muscle. Matutu, she finally loses her grip and can't hold on. Please don't be like this, okay? He simply asks her, like what?
Not saying a single word? Zero response? She claims him acting like this is way worse than fighting. He just looks right at her.
She's used to controlling the pace, used to crushing emotions with pure logic, but right now she has completely lost that usual ability of hers. Bowing your head now, just because you're terrified of losing this, he says. A flicker of panic crosses her eyes. He just keeps going. But before this, you were never actually afraid. She stays totally silent for a really long time. I thought you'd always be there. That slips out like an accidental, brutal truth. He nods. Exactly. You always assumed that. She suddenly looks straight up at him, the edges of her eyes turning slightly red. So what do you mean now? He tells her he's just not there anymore. Her emotions finally crack, slipping out of control just a bit. You can't just completely erase all these years with one single sentence. He calmly replies, I'm not erasing anything at all. I simply walked away from it. She stands there staring at him, like for the very first time. She truly can't read him at all. She didn't stay that night. Right before walking out, she turned and shot me a look. You are going to regret this, she said. But honestly, in her voice, there was absolutely zero confidence. The exact second that door clicked shut, the whole room went completely dead silent. I just sat there on the edge of the bed, my injured shoulder aching. But deep down, my mind was crystal clear. I had absolutely zero expectations left. She still had no clue. This nightmare was far from over. Wang Xiaoyi only started to truly panic right after I actually handed over our legal separation agreement. Not a full divorce, just a separation.
I had my lawyer send it over following standard procedure. The terms were super simple. A 6-month time frame, completely independent finances.
All real estate stays exactly as is, 0 property disputes, and absolutely no emotional language attached. It read just like some cold, lifeless instruction manual. And for the very first time, she did not immediately reject it.
She didn't come looking for me that night, but bright and early the next morning, her car was parked right outside the company, waiting for Zhang Lining, not me.
Only later did I find out they spent a really long time talking down in that parking garage. Wang Xiaoyi normally hated mixing private drama with work, but that specific day, she actually postponed an entire board meeting. She asked Zhang Lining outright, "Did you already know he was planning to leave?" Zhang Lining froze up for a second, then quickly regained his calm composure. "I just felt like you two haven't been communicating very smoothly lately," he told her. Acting super cautious, she just stared right at him. "You kept telling me to give him time. Well, I gave him time, and now he is gone." Zhang Lining stayed completely quiet for a few seconds before finally speaking up. "Some people simply do not fit your current status anymore." That exact sentence stabbed right through her chest. "What do you mean by that?" she demanded. "Your current situation requires someone who can step up and coordinate with you at any given moment," he explained, "rather than a partner who constantly puts their own personal feelings above everything else." She didn't even try to argue back, because this was the exact same harsh judgment she had secretly held against me for years. Right after that day, her entire attitude toward Zhang Lining started growing increasingly anxious and rushed. She desperately needed an explanation, needing to prove she had not made the wrong choice. Zhang Lining clearly noticed this weird shift, so he started acting way more cautious. The phone calls dropped off, the conversations got shorter, and he was no longer that same guy who always stayed by her side through those late-night overtime shifts. Nor did he bother asking about her feelings anymore. Whenever she invited him to dinner, he always found some excuse to decline. 1 time, 2 times, and by the 3rd rejection, Wang Xiaoyi finally realized the power dynamic of their relationship was completely shifting.
She couldn't hold back anymore and asked him, "Have you been intentionally avoiding me lately?" Zhang Lining just smiled and replied, "How could I possibly do that?"
"Then why aren't you answering my calls?" "Just too busy," he answered. That exact phrase she had used on me countless times before. Now hearing it from someone else's mouth sounded absolutely grating. Now, pay attention to this shift. She started feeling incredibly insecure, not because of me, but because she suddenly realized the bitter truth. She hadn't just lost a loyal husband waiting at home. She lost the one person she foolishly thought she could always control. Zhang Lining's real attitude finally became completely obvious right after a major project meeting. Once the meeting ended, she held him back and asked straight up, "Do you honestly feel like I am just a massive burden right now?" He went totally quiet for a moment, not even trying to deny it right away. "Your mood hasn't been great lately," he told her. "I am not good at handling these emotional things." That single sentence made her heart sink like a stone. She looked at him. "You never used to say things like that before." "Well, the past is the past," he replied. "Things are completely different now." She just stared at him, and all of a sudden, a harsh reality hit her. Zhang Lining had never approached her because of who she was inside. It was strictly for her high position, her network resources, and the tangible value. She could provide for him back then. Now that her emotions were starting to spiral totally out of control, he immediately began to back away. She went back to her car and just sat there for a long time. That day, she didn't return to the company or head home. For the first time ever, she had nowhere to go. Meanwhile, I was quietly organizing my very last batch of documents. Ever since our separation, I had been systematically handing over all my remaining projects within the company. I wasn't resigning, just doing my best to cut down any unnecessary ties to the absolute minimum. My coworkers asked if I was getting transferred somewhere else. I told them no changes for now, and they didn't push the subject any further. I stopped working those exhausting late-night shifts, and I stopped waiting up for someone to come home. Life became incredibly simple. Then, out of nowhere, Wang Xiaoyi tracked me down on a rainy night. I had just finished work. My car wasn't even started yet when I spotted her standing by the curb. No umbrella, her clothes already half soaked by the heavy rain. Out of pure instinct, I reached to roll my window up, but then I stopped myself. She walked right over and tapped on the glass,
I ended up stepping out, asking her, "What are you even doing here?" Her makeup was completely smeared, and her eyes were severely bloodshot. Not the kind of red from crying, but that heavy exhaustion from countless sleepless nights. "I really want to talk to you," she said. I replied, "We have already done our talking." She insisted that this time was totally different. I just looked at her, keeping my mouth shut.
She took one massive breath. "Zhang Lining is getting transferred away." I just nodded. "I know." She stared right through me. "Aren't you going to ask why?" I answered her, "That is entirely your business." Her gaze completely broke down in a panic. She said he didn't want to get dragged into this mess anymore. He claimed getting involved would be bad for his own career. I still gave zero reaction. Her voice started to tremble just a little bit. "Do you really not feel a single thing?" "Yes," I reply. A spark of hope flashes in her eyes, so I add one more sentence.
I just think it is completely normal. That little spark of hope instantly vanishes. How can you be so incredibly calm? She almost entirely loses her cool.
"You were never like this before." I point out that she was never like this before either. That single response makes her go completely silent. The rain is pouring down heavy, and she stands there like she finally realizes a harsh truth. Some things, once they are gone, just never, ever come back. "Did I really lose you for good?" she asks quietly. I do not answer her at all. Not out of pity, but because discussing this question just does not hold any meaning anymore. She suddenly lets out a laugh, and it looks incredibly forced and painful. "It turns out, this togetherness I always believed in only actually exists when someone is truly needed." She speaks up, admitting that this time, she is actually talking about herself. I pull the car door open and tell her the rain is heavy. "Go home." She does not move. "Makiusi," she calls out, pulling me back. "If I start completely over right now, would you still be standing in the exact same spot waiting for me?" I look at her. The insecurity, the panic, and that delayed sense of realization in her eyes are all completely genuine. "But none of that can change anything now. You already made it clear you did not need me waiting in that spot anymore," I say. She stands in the rain, asking nothing else. I get in the car. Through the rearview mirror, her silhouette slowly gets smaller and smaller. That night, she sits all alone inside her car. She holds her phone, scrolling slowly through her entire contact list, only to realize there is not a single number she can actually dial without hesitating and overthinking it first. I head back to my empty room. Lights out. The world is wonderfully quiet. I know what she lost was not just me, but honestly, none of that has anything to do with me anymore. Now pay attention to how things shift here. The time Wang Xiaoyi spends trying to pursue me again is incredibly quiet. It is not that she does nothing, but she acts in a highly restrained way. She stops showing up randomly downstairs at my company, and she stops making those late-night phone calls. She switches up her approach entirely, almost like she is carefully testing the boundaries. The very first thing that changes is the tone of her voice. Before, she had this habit of making the final decision first and expecting people to play along. Now, she actually starts asking things like, "Are you busy with work lately?" or "How is your shoulder healing up?" These kinds of questions carry absolutely no heavy emotions. No criticism either, just like two people who barely know each other. I keep my answers extremely brief, sometimes sending just a single word back. She does not press further. A few days later, she sends me a quick text message saying my belongings at her place are all neatly packed up, and if I ever need them, I can come back anytime. I reply with the simple, "No need." After a really long pause, she texts back, and soon she begins frequently reminiscing about our shared past. Not the grand romantic moments, but rather the tiny, ordinary, everyday stories. The kind of details almost nobody would even remember. Like the very first time we went on a business trip together and she lost her temper over a delayed flight. I sat right there with her at the airport all night long. Or that time her stomach hurt and I went out to buy medicine in the middle of the night. She never ever bothered to mention these small things before. Bringing them up right now feels like she is desperately trying to confirm if those specific moments actually really existed or not. I read it and say nothing back. Not to be intentionally cold. It is just that these specific memories hold absolutely no weight for me anymore. Around that time, I actually moved out. Not exactly a huge move, my lease just expired, so I relocated to a brand new spot much closer to the company. The new place is not huge, but gets plenty of sunlight.
I start living a steady routine, getting off work on time and occasionally working out. My life slowly fills up bit by bit, leaving absolutely no space for her.
But guess who shows up? Wang Xiaoyi spots me near my new place. I just walked out of the supermarket holding bags, and she stands by the road like she has been waiting forever.
Did you move? She asks. Yeah, I reply back. She looks at the bags in my hands, then looks me up and down. Seems like you are doing okay, she says. I just reply, doing fine. That exact phrase, doing
Fine, makes her expression completely freeze up for a split second. She totally assumed that leaving her would make my daily life miserable. But the reality is actually the exact opposite. I can give you a ride home, she says. I tell her there is no need. She does not insist, just quietly follows me for a little bit.
We walk side by side, maintaining a gap that is neither too close nor too far. Zheng Lining has been officially transferred away.
She blurts out suddenly. I just nod, offering absolutely no opinion on the matter. So she adds one more sentence. I do not contact him anymore either. I know, I reply. She stops walking and looks right at me. Do you really not care, even a little bit? I turn my head to look at her, seeing a very clear pleading look in her eyes. I ask her, are you waiting for me to care? She gives no answer. In that exact moment, I realize something crystal clear. The thing she is desperately chasing is not me, but just her own deep insecurity after losing total control. Do you feel like everything I do right now is just completely useless? She asks softly. I think for a second, giving her the most brutally honest answer possible. It is not useless. It is just applied in the wrong place. Her breathing hitches for a quick beat. Then what should I do? She asks this question, one she has never ever asked anyone before. I look at her, not answering right away. I tell her she does not need to do anything else. Things have already reached this point. Her eyes slowly start welling up with red. But I am still right here. I know, I nod. But I am just not in that exact same place anymore. After that day, she starts being way more direct. She waits for me after work, asking if I have time to grab a meal. No more setting conditions, no more giving me lectures. She just keeps showing up, over and over. But merely showing up does not fix a single thing. One time, she stands outside my building until extremely late. I head downstairs to take out the trash, and she is still standing there. I tell her she really does not need to do this. She looks up at me, her eyes completely exhausted. She just wants to know if she can still get close to me. She says I am already so close. I tell her I am just not taking another step forward. That sentence completely silences her. Trent Lupning has completely backed out of the picture during this whole phase. He transferred jobs and quickly changed all his contact info, no longer showing up anywhere in her entire social circle. Wang Til-yi tried reaching out to him once, but she got absolutely zero response. This is where reality really crashes down on her. In that exact moment, she finally realizes some relationships completely vanish once they lose their value, and I am the very last person she can cling to, yet the hardest to keep. She starts coming to find me way more often, while I just keep getting busier and busier. Not with work, but with life. I start making my own personal plans, no longer saving any of my time for her at all. She notices that no matter when she shows up, I always have something else going on. She asks if I am intentionally avoiding her. She finally asks it out loud. I reply that I am not. I am just not adjusting my schedule for her anymore. That hits even harder than a direct rejection. She stands right in front of me, looking totally drained of all her energy, realizing I actually can live my life without her. That is right. I answer without a single moment of hesitation. She does not chase after me that day, just standing there, watching me walk away. I do not look back, knowing she finally understands this is not just a Cold War. The actual end is right here in front of us. The absolute final time I meet up with Wang Til-yi is on a standard weekday afternoon. She messages me saying a few documents need my in-person confirmation regarding our post-separation arrangements. Her tone is strictly business and completely professional. With zero extra emotion, I do not refuse, and we meet up at a quiet tea house near the law firm with really excellent soundproofing.
She gets there earlier than me, sitting by the window with a neatly stacked pile of official documents right by her hand.
Seeing me, she stands up. You are here? Yeah, I answer and sit down right across from her. The waiter pours tea and she thanks him politely. Her movements are highly restrained and proper. Everything feels so familiar, yet completely strange. She slides the documents right in front of me.
These are the parts I need to confirm. If there are no issues, I just sign. I flip through the clear contents, finding absolutely zero hidden strings attached.
She does not try to sneak anything into the clauses. That actually catches me off guard a bit. I tell her she really checked this thoroughly.
She replies that she just does not want to make any more mistakes. I nod, grabbing the pen to sign. As the tip hits paper, my heart does not waver.
She watches me finish signing, gathers up the documents, but does not leave right away. The tea house is dead quiet, with only the soft sound of boiling water.
Ma Tutu, she suddenly calls out my name. I look up as she says, "This is the last time we will ever sit together like this." Not a question, just a factual statement. That is right, I reply. She stays silent for a moment, clearly organizing her words before asking what my plans are from now on. She had never ever asked me a question like that before. Just living normally, I answer. She gives a very faint smile, pointing out how brief I am being right now. I tell her there is really no need to say too much anymore. She nods without pushing the subject. A little while later, she asks if there will ever come a day where I feel regret. Will he regret it? She has been holding that heavy question back for ages. I do not answer right away, not because I am hesitating, but because I need to verify my own total honesty. I tell her I won't. Her fingers curl up slightly, asking if that is true even if I end up completely alone later. She keeps pressing. I reply that I am already on my own right now, and there is nothing I cannot adapt to. She looks at me, a hint of genuine helplessness finally showing in her eyes. She says she used to think I could never leave her. I used to think the exact same thing. That response completely silences her. She looks down at the table, staring at the wood grain, yet seeing absolutely nothing at all. She suddenly speaks up. Do you know? She says she only just realized she lost me, not because I stopped loving her, but because she simply never learned how to keep me around. She continues speaking in a very low tone, completely tearless, but radiating a very clear, heavy exhaustion. She says she always felt like everything could just be put off for later, that people would always wait. But she forgot that a person is not just some project. I look at her without denying it. She is totally right. This realization is just arriving way too late. If time could turn back, she looks up at me, would I still choose her? She asks that question so slowly, like giving herself one absolute last chance. I stare at the woman who used to be the entire center of my life, now sitting across from me looking so incredibly foreign and restrained. I tell her I do not know. That is the complete honest truth. What about right now? She asks. I reply that there is no need to make any choices anymore. She closes her eyes, and in that moment, she finally seems to accept how things are. She tells me to just leave, saying she won't waste any more of my time. I stand up, quietly pushing my chair back into place. She stands up too, but doesn't walk me out. Reaching the door, I pause for just a second. Vong Tio-yi, I call out. She looks up. Please stop chasing me. It's not because you lack anything, I tell her. She swallows hard. It's just because I've already reached the end of our road. I leave her with those final words, and she stays completely silent. Pushing the door open, I step outside. The hallway is so bright, sunlight spilling sideways through the glass. I walk away step by step, never looking back even once. Behind me, she stays frozen in that exact same spot. This time, she really does not chase after me. For a very long time after that moment, we simply do not see each other again. The paperwork gets settled smoothly, absolutely no messy fights, and no dragging things out. I completely shift my career path, making my life feel simple and crystal clear.
Now and then, she still crosses my mind, but those heavy feelings are totally gone, just like remembering an old story that has finally turned the page.
You realize quickly, some people arrive right on time, while others leave way too late. As for me, I finally no longer have to stand stuck in one place, just waiting forever.